Good morning. It's Tasty Tuesday, and today we are making one of my all-time favorite meals. Although I don't make it very often, I order it in a restaurant all the time. We're having Beef Bourguignon. Tonight we're having a little birthday party with my sons, and so I wanted to make this, it's not complicated, but it does take a long time, special dinner for my family tonight. And so we're going to travel to France, probably one of the most well-known French dishes, beef bourguignon. And the word bourguignon, by the way, is it's the region of Burgundy where some of the world's best wine comes from. In French, that is pronounced Bourguigny, and that's where the word bourguignon comes from. So, very important that you use a really good wine in this dish. We are using a Pinot Noir, and that's a very common wine to choose. And also very important that you use really good ingredients throughout the recipe. Today I'm using a beautiful piece of chuck roast that I got at my local butcher. I bought it whole, chopped it up myself because I like the pieces a little bit bigger. Sometimes you'll have beef bourguignon with small stew-sized pieces, and that's okay too, but I like it a little bit bigger. So we are going to get going on this dish. I'm getting ready to go for my run this morning, and so I'm going to get all of this into the oven and then go on my run and not look at the dish for 2 hours. It'll be in the oven for 2 hours. Then we're going to do something else to it. Come back, it has to cook for another hour and a half, or maybe an hour. So that's where we are. Now, I have already this morning cooked my bacon. I have 4 pieces of bacon that I chopped up. I cooked it in my Dutch oven for about, 10 minutes. And in my Dutch oven, I had 1 tablespoon of olive oil. Now, I still have all the drippings in my Dutch oven, and I'm going to get the meat browning. Now, this beef I marinated overnight in 2 cups of Pinot Noir. Do not throw out the wine. This is the reserved marinade wine. But you do want to take the meat out of the wine briefly. Well, this has probably been here 30 minutes. Set it on a paper towel, salt and pepper it, turn it over after about 15 minutes. You want to take some of that moisture off the meat so that it doesn't steam when you put it in the pan. It's the other reason that you want to cook your meat in batches when you see that in a recipe. That's to keep the meat from steaming. I want it to crisp up a little bit and not get that kind of grayish color that comes when you steam the beef. So we're going to cook the pieces of meat 2 to 3 minutes on each side, and I'm going to get the first batch started. Here we go. While our beef is browning, I'm going to watch it closely and turn it on all 4 sides. Let me tell you about beef bourguignon. It is a very old dish. It's been around since the Middle Ages, and it was a peasant dish. Today we think of it as something you get in a fancy restaurant, but it was a peasant dish in the Middle Ages because their choices of meat were usually tough, and so it was the kind of thing where you cook it for a very long time, which you still do, and the meat will just become fork tender. Back in the day, they would have cooked it for even several days, 2 to 3 days, over an open fire, and that would be, and then they would have wine, and that would be their very early version of beef bourguignon. Today, we're going to cook it for a total of about 3 hours, a little more. It took me about an hour to prep all my ingredients, plus a couple of minutes last night to get the beef in the fridge. So it is a little bit of a process. It's not difficult, but you just have to allow enough time for it all to come together. So Let's see how our beef is doing. So I've browned my meat and I've put it onto the same plate where my bacon is. And that's just gonna sit there for a few minutes while we do the veg. So the next thing is onions. Now, I'm using pearl onions because I think they're lovely in this dish. And I bought fresh pearl onions, peeled them. You could probably use frozen ones if you don't want to go to the trouble. But like I said before, you want to use the best possible ingredients in this dish. You could also use one large whole onion and chop it up. So I have about 25 pearl onions here, and they're going into the same oil. I haven't removed the oil, going in here, and they're going to cook for 5 to 7 minutes, just until they're limp. The onions smell amazing. The whole kitchen, the whole house smells amazing. So now they've been cooking probably about 7 minutes, and I have 2 large garlic cloves that I already chopped, and those are going to go in. You don't want to put those in till after the onions are all the way cooked because the garlic burns so easily. So into our pan, into our Dutch oven goes our garlic. Yum. That smells so good. Now, Beef Bourguignon always calls for carrots. You can use baby carrots. You can slice your carrots up. But because I think it's really pretty, I am using carrots with a little bit of the tops. That is going in next. When I serve it, you'll see I'll put a carrot or 2 on each plate. And this is just the way I like to do it. And sometimes you'll see it done that way in a restaurant. So I have 7 carrots. They're about 3-4 inches long each, and that goes in with our onions and our garlic. Okay, our carrots are cooking. I just let them cook a minute or 2. And now I'm going to stir in 3 tablespoons of flour. Let that make a little bit of a roux before we start adding our wet ingredients. That will help thicken it up. Ooh, it already is. Ooh. Now, we reserved the 2 cups of wine. Again, I used Pinot Noir. I love Oregon Willamette Valley Pinot Noir. That's what I use today. You, of course, could use Burgundy or a French wine, or really any dark red wine. Just buy a good one. But I always like to use Pinot Noir in this recipe. So I have 2 cups, a little less now from it marinating overnight. And we're gonna pour that in there after we add the beef back. And we're gonna want to make sure that everything is covered. So this amount of liquid isn't gonna do that. So then I'm going to use some beef broth to bring that liquid up. So the first thing we're going to do is return our beef and bacon to our Dutch oven. Forgot to mention that I have the oven on 300 degrees, heating up, and it's hot. And so it's not super hot because this dish is going to cook really slow. All right, we have beef and bacon, carrots, onions, garlic, all of our flour, all of our ingredients except for our wet ingredients. So next, I'm going to return the 2 cups of wine to our Dutch oven. Does that smell good? And now I'm going to add, I might end up using this whole thing. This is 32 ounces. This is store-bought beef broth. Of course, if you make your own, even better. Okay, well, that's just about gonna do it. Let me stir that for a second. Oh yeah, that looks really beautiful. Now I made my own bouquet garni. This has about 4 sprigs of parsley, 3 sprigs of thyme, 3 sprigs of oregano, and 2 bay leaves. I'm going to nestle that down into the pot. That makes it easy to take those out before you serve, but you could put it all in separately if you didn't want to make a bouquet garni. So now that's it. I'm going to put the lid on. I'm going to put it in the oven at 300 degrees, and I'm not going to look at it for 2 hours. I'm going to go do my run and probably take a shower, do a few other things around the house, and come back and show you what it looks like in 2 hours. I'll see you then. Hey, we're back, and it's been a little more than 2 hours actually. I went for my run, I took a shower, and now I'm going to look at the beef bourguignon for the first time since putting it in the oven at 300 degrees about 2 hours ago. This pan is super heavy, and let's see. Ooh, look how beautiful that is. Now, it should still have a lot of liquid in it, and it does. You can see it's reduced a little bit there. But the reduction now is going to start as we leave it in the oven at 300 degrees for the next hour and a half. Now, I might leave it longer even. I like my beef bourguignon a little drier, not soupy. So I'm just gonna check it in another hour, maybe go an hour more after that, or just a half an hour. Meanwhile, while all that is happening, I'm gonna start working on the mashed potatoes, which will be served with this. So that's it for now. Our beef bourguignon is done. It smells just amazing. And I don't know if you can see it. This pan is so heavy, but it reduced a lot. There's still some liquid in there. So let me show you how we're gonna plate it. I have green beans that I cooked on the stovetop, I steamed. And here is some mashed potatoes, which is the best way to enjoy beef bourguignon, in my opinion. And on top of that, I'm going to put 3 pieces of beef. Oh, this beef looks amazing. It's just totally falling apart. There's 1. 2, get a little bit of sauce with it, and 3, and then 1 of our carrots that I cooked with the top still on is gonna nestle right there. And I wanna make sure I get a few onions in there too, because they just look super delicious. That is it. That's our plating. Our beautiful beef bourguignon. Whoa. Let me bring it up to the camera. Mashed potatoes, beef bourguignon. Got the carrot there, can you see it? And the green beans. And this is just gonna be melt in your mouth, delicious. My beef bourguignon was in the oven for almost 4 hours because I really wanted the sauce to reduce. Now, you don't have to leave it that long. The meat's been done long since. But if you don't mind it a little soupy. So we're gonna have this tonight with my family, and it's time to dig in. So I hope you'll try beef bourguignon. Very simple, a little bit long, takes a long time, but it's not difficult, and it's so delicious. So, thank you, merci, and we'll see you next week.